I've got a question. Do you prefer to be loved out loud or do you prefer to be loved in secrecy? That's the question I have for you guys today. So I want you guys to go ahead and pop it in the chat. Do you prefer a lot of privacy when it comes to love or do you prefer to be loved out loud? Let's talk about it, everybody. So, guys, I wanted to talk about this topic because I came across this reel on Instagram, and for me, it was a very sweet reel. I'm not sure how everybody feels about it, but I thought it was just a super sweet reel. This time, it was actually a gentleman who said that he recently had fallen in love, and he was having his whole jump on the couch style Tom Cruise moment where he was just in love, loving life, and displaying it with for all of the world to see. And he just said over and over how much he loved this girl. And to be honest, he had just met this girl. So, I mean, it's the kind of thing that, depending on the female and, kind of her attachment style and all, it could kind of scare a woman off if she's, not a secure attachment style or if she discerns that you're just full of it. you know, um, it could throw a woman off, but I actually thought it was really sweet. And I wanted to talk about this because of that video that I saw. And it brought to mind this idea that some people like to be loved out loud, and some people like to be celebrated quietly. I mean, there are certain like religions where birthdays are that way, where birthdays are not celebrated out loud. That's something that's a quiet, private thing. And so I just wanted to get y'all's thoughts on being loved out loud because I know how I feel about it. I know I love being loved out loud. Like I live for being loved out loud. It's something that changes the dynamic of the whole relationship. It gives me immense security in the person, knowing that they're willing to go out on a limb and just love me out loud in such a pure way. So I want to talk about being loved out loud because honestly, can I tell y'all the truth? First, everybody hit the like button. Everybody hit the like button. Everybody hit subscribe. First, do that, okay? Don't leave me hanging here. First, hit the like button. First, hit subscribe. And then let me tell you the truth. So I live in a big city, right? I live in Atlanta. It's kind of a social town. It's kind of like a wealthy town. It's kind of an up and happening town, right? And my experience has been pretty consistent in this big city, like doing the big city vibes, that everyone that I encounter basically says that they like to love in silence, privacy, at home. They don't want to be loved in public. They don't want to show like that kind of affection. And it throws me off, y'all. It throws me off big time. So I want to talk about being loved out loud. It's just one of those things. It's like whenever someone starts talking about having the privacy conversation with you, I hate that conversation, y'all. And let me share with you how it goes in case you've never had it, unless you're kind of like maybe you live in a small town, you've not had that conversation. Maybe you haven't been on the road traveling a whole bunch. Let me put you on game real quick. This is how it goes. Normally, the person says something like, oh, I'm really private, And they may have their cell phone out and they might be scrolled on their Facebook. And it's just like, the thought comes to mind that they're just like planting that seed, planting their intentions. And they're just like, oh, I like to be quiet. I like to be private. I feel like that's like so much more sacred. Eye roll. But you guys tell me what you're thinking because I definitely have my opinions. Um, and this might, I would love to say my judgment is clouded by the fact that I live in a big town where people tend to be players and playing around. And I'm not even gonna lie, y'all. It's not even just the guys. I want to make sure this is a level like playing field here, because I know just as many women in my town who pull the same stunt. It's not like a strictly man thing. It's a toxic culture thing to me. That it's not just, men that are like, oh, like I really like privacy, and it's the women too. They really want to keep these relationships private. So I want to hear from you guys. Let me know what y'all are thinking. Everybody hit the like button really quick. Everybody hit subscribe really quick. If you haven't already, hop on over to YouTube, Victory Life Podcast 7603. I want to hear from y'all. Like, do you like being loved out loud? Because I like being loved out loud. I don't want to be anybody's big secret. I don't want that. Like, as a matter of fact, if somebody's going to have me in secret, I'm walking. It's that simple. You can love somebody else in secret, but you just can't love me. You can keep that, just not with me. But yeah, y'all let me know. I gotta know what you guys are thinking about it. Because in Atlanta, I feel like I'm on an island all by myself. When I say, hey, I like to be loved out loud, I want someone to love me loud and proud. I want them to tote me around, take pictures of me, and I want it to feel outside the door the way it feels at home. I want that consistency. I want to see that if someone is like, affectionate at home or loving at home, I want to see that same behavior continuously, and I don't want there to be like a blinder on. Now, let's be honest, I'm not going to be doing something like inappropriate in public. Let's just scratch that off the list. But you guys know what I'm saying. I just want to be loved out loud. And I feel like because everyone's trying to keep their options open, I feel like that's actually the reason why they're loving privately. I think they want to just be able to like fall in love or kind of like someone, and then in case it doesn't work out, they want to play the field in the same neighborhood is what I think. I think it's some of that. I think no one wants to take the chance of like taking the big L and being like the loser, like if the relationship fails and then it looks like you're dumped. I think nobody wants to take the L and feel like the loser. That's what I think. But I want to know what y'all think, because I'm on this like island by myself with this in my city. Even the women here, they'll quick to say, oh, no, like I need to keep this private. And I'm even like, it's to the point now, y'all, it is so toxic now. I'm seeing people who get married and they're keeping their husbands. These are women. I'm not even talking about men here now. I see women keeping their husbands private, like literally taking a sticker, placing it on the face of their husband, and then posting their picture on Facebook. Like you're doing couples pictures, but you took a little sticker and stuck it on your husband's face. That is now like becoming the norm. I just want to know what y'all think about it. I want to know, am I the weirdo? Like, let me know. It's okay if we disagree. I still love you. Let me know. Pop it in the chat. I want to know what y'all are thinking about it. I definitely want to hear what you guys are thinking about it. And then, I want to hop in that Bible and talk about what the Bible does with it. But let's see. What are you guys talking about? I'm about to scroll through the chat here and see what you guys are saying. You guys like being loved out loud, or you guys like the privacy? Let me know. Because if you see, I doubt people are going to tell me the truth. Because some of these folks up in this chat be having little crushes, and I don't think they want to know that I want to be loved out loud, and then they want to be loving me privately, and then they got to come out and be like, no, I want to love you privately, but, and then the DMs, can I love you though? Yeah, what I'm talking about. Let's see what y'all are talking about over here. Let's see. Someone says, I'm not married. Maybe I'm out of the loop. We're talking about being loved out loud. Like, Somebody said those guys are strange. The problem is it's not just the men anymore. Like, a few years ago, maybe like 5 years ago, like pre-pandemic, I noticed that it was like the men. But like it was around the pandemic time that the women started kicking off with the same conversations. And I started thinking, like, what's going on here? Like, what is happening? The women are equally, at least in Atlanta, and this is a big town, it's a big city, you know. The benefit for one who wants to do that in a big town like this is that, first of all, everybody, that like button, get at it. Hit the like button really quick. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribed. We're on Victory Life Podcast 7603. But yeah, like there's something about I noticed around the pandemic time that the women would kind of be like, they're starting to be like quiet about it. But the benefit is in a big town like this, like everybody, like I live in one part of town. I generally never, ever, ever, I maybe count twice in a decade, I've dated somebody on my side of the same town. Twice in a whole decade. So most of the time I date someone, they're far, far away. But like Atlanta is set up in such a way that there are pockets. So if you live in a like a very fun part of town, then you might just go to your nearby event halls and eateries and things like that. Like you might go to the nearby restaurants and pubs and stuff, and then you don't really have to drive 45 minutes if you don't want to. So if you live in a live, work, and play environment and you're single and you just go out nearby your house, then what happens is if you date someone publicly and you tend to go out all nearby your house, and then you're like, publicly dating them, etc., if people come to know that you're a thing, then everybody in that area may actually know that you're a thing, and it can actually lessen your chances of having other dates in that local area. But like somebody like me, I live like way on the other side of town. I've only dated 2 people right near me. So, I mean, I don't know. Does that make sense? But yeah, so I don't like the whole privacy when dating. Like if you're dating, I think you should be public. That's what I think. I think people should date publicly. And I get a lot of pushback from people on this. Like in general, like I'll just talk to people quietly one-on-one, and they'll be liking someone, and then it's all this private. Like, oh, why you haven't like, how come you've been on so many dates and I don't know who this person is and nobody knows this person exists? What is that? And that's a normal thing where I live. And it's a toxic thing where I live. I will say that. Look at some of these comments. Being an item is one thing, being confident is another. It's different. I love it when someone loves out loud. Ooh, I like that. You don't love out loud. I missed it. Atlanta is built like fun and no fun areas for real. But oh, if someone loves me, they better not be afraid to tell it out loud. Yell it. Those guys are strange. Okay, I think I caught up to all the questions. I mean, all the comments. Let's see on this side. What's going on? Blessings. Let's see. Someone says that sounds suspicious as you know what. I've never been public. I've never been with the public displays of affection. And then someone says it's all good. Okay, so I just wanted to talk about that a little bit, and I wanted to reflect a little bit on why I feel that way. Because there's a real practical reason why I think people should love out loud. Basically, if you're going to be official dating someone, you should be officially dating them. Your friends should know, family should know. Like if people should know you're in a relationship. Like you shouldn't be in a relationship and it's all private. If you're exclusive, people should actually know you're exclusive, because that's what the whole point is all about. But I think what can happen is, I think people tend to do this trying to keep their options open, and they try to do it sometimes trying to avoid, like if the relationship fails, they don't want to look like a loser. But I think by not putting all toes in the water, you also risk the relationship. I think that's also risking, because like a woman like me, when I'm not getting loved out loud, I'm thinking, well, you're not that into me. I'm moving on. I automatically go there in my head, and I'm fine with going there. Even if that's not their intention, it's just not a compatibility for me. So I'm just going to move on anyway. But yeah, I find that a lot of women are adjusting to it. And then now I'm seeing some women that are also doing the same thing. So I wanted to know y'all's thoughts. And I want to reflect a little bit on why I feel the way I feel about it from a biblical standpoint, because I do think that there is something to it from a biblical standpoint. Okay, people that are on TikTok, I want to just announce really quick. I'm going to switch the live. So I'm going to turn TikTok off and I'm going to switch to IG because I haven't caught up with IG in a minute. So if you guys want to hop on over, come on over to YouTube, Victory Life Podcast 7603. We're talking about being loved out loud. I'm going to talk about the biblical proof for why that's important. But come on over to Victory Life Podcast 7603 to continue the party with us here. And I'm going to use that phone to go on live on Instagram. If you don't mind, just hop on over here. And I'm going to use that phone to go live on Instagram because that's what I want to do. So everybody, if you're on TikTok, come on over to YouTube, and I'm going to close down TikTok, and I want to use my phone for another platform. So it's Victory Life Podcast 7603, YouTube, Victory Life Podcast 7603 on YouTube. Okay. So give me just a second while I pop on IG. I want to bring them in for a second. I want to bring them into the party for a second. Because they always get that weird angle of me, like that weird like uppercut angle, and it's so like such an unfavorable look. Hey everybody, welcome. Hey guys. Today we're talking about being loved out loud. And my question for you guys is, how do you feel about it? Like, do you have the feeling that you prefer to be loved out loud? Do you prefer to be loved in secret? Why or why not? Pop it in the chat. Let me know what's up. We are over here on Victory Life Podcast 7603. I would love to know your thoughts. But yeah, that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about being loved out loud. Welcome, welcome. So we're on YouTube, Victory Life Podcast 7603. Hop on over, the water's warm. We're talking about being loved out loud. So I want to hear from you guys, whether you prefer to be loved out loud or in secret. That is the topic for discussion today. And I want to talk about it. I want to talk about it because I notice an alarming trend of people wanting to be loved in secrecy. And I'm not even going to call it privacy. I'm going to call it secrecy because that's what it is. And I want to talk about also what the Bible says about such things, because I think a lot of this goes back to, like, we look and see the roots of it. What would the Bible say about being loved in private? What would it say about it? And I want to refer you guys to Genesis. I believe it's Genesis chapter 24, where we have the negotiation for Rebekah to be wifed up with Isaac. If we take it back to that chapter in Genesis where Rebekah comes on the scene and the servant has gone to go find a wife for Isaac out of town. He finds her fetching a pail of water. She's a wonderful woman, very loving, giving, blah, blah, blah. And then the servant says something to Rebekah. And I find this really interesting. The servant says, "Do you have space at your house for me? I would like to come home with you. Basically, I want to come home with you." And she's like, "Oh yeah, there's plenty of space for you and there's plenty of space for your animals. You just come on over." So she understood what that meant. Him coming over was for him to have a conversation about a public conversation about next steps for Rebekah and what should happen in Rebekah's life in terms of the relationship. So there was absolutely no secrecy. You guys see that? There was no secrecy. There was no privacy. It wasn't that their servant was negotiating to get Rebekah married off and then whisk her away quietly. No, no. There was zero secrecy in the Bible. So when it's time for Rebekah to get married, that servant went to her home with the intentions of speaking with her family, with the intentions of getting her released from the home, with the intentions of bringing her to a new home, not to be discarded, but to be kept permanently. You guys see that? That's a big difference right there. So she was going to be loved out loud. And the goal was, because she's being loved out loud, it's all being promoted in public, not in secrecy. Why, y'all? It's because there's a plan for her. That's why. There's no secrecy because there's no ill intentions. There's no secrecy because there's no lack of planning. It's because she is the plan. She is the plan. So there's no secrecy. You guys see that? Everybody hit the like button really quick. Everybody hit subscribe really quick. Do you guys see what I'm saying? So when I bring that, kind of compare that to today, where everybody's walking around, and I'm not talking about just men, y'all. I'm talking about men and women are hiding the partner that they're dating, whether they're dating just beginning phases, whether they're kind of in the middle and they're exclusive, or whether they're like, I really love this person. A lot of people are doing it in private, at least in Atlanta. They're doing it in private. And I just want to say that that is not biblical. That is not biblical. Not only is it not biblical, but it's a setup for absolute failure from a perspective of, you know, we don't need to be dancing around in the darkness. Does that make sense? We don't need to be doing that. There's a lot of risk to doing that. And I want to talk about that. Romans talks about it a little bit in 13:13. It says, let us behave decently, as in the daytime, not in carousing and in drunkenness, not in sexual immorality, not in debauchery, not in dissensions and jealousy. Then it talks about in 1 John 1:7, but if we walk in the light as he is in the light, we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of Jesus, his son, purifies us from all sin. And then in Proverbs 27:5, it says, better is open rebuke than hidden love. You guys see that? So it's not just me saying it. It's not biblical to try to have someone and have them in private. And a lot of the privacy, I believe, is actually based in fear. That's what I think. I think people are afraid to lose someone publicly and feel ashamed or feel like a loser, feel like you lost somebody and it's all public and now like, oh, you lost, they won, they dumped you. People don't want that look, so they go private. Some people actually have sneaky intentions. They want to keep their options open. Why? Because they have no intention of being serious with that person, so they go private, right? Some people downright have someone else already. They're already exclusive with someone else. They're already seeing someone else, or someone else is led to believe that they're very special. And so therefore they like to do these extra things in private. And that's what I'm saying, y'all. I think we eliminate a lot of the concerns by just being out in public. Not only that, but when you think about it, the devil doesn't have room to move, right? You also have the opportunity of collecting another data point, if that makes any sense. So publicly seeing someone, there's an element of being able to observe their behavior publicly. You know, how do they interact on social media? Publicly. What kind of photos are they posting? Couples photos, individual photos, thirst traps? What are they doing publicly? You know, this is what I'm saying. I'm saying it's a data point. It's also a data point before you finalize permanency with someone. So I think a lot of the privacy, it's coming down to, if they can just keep it private, then they don't have to be intentional. about the relationship. So I think lack of intention starts with privacy many times. But I've seen the picture painted differently. Let's be honest. I've seen a lot of people say, oh, you got to keep people out of your business. You got to keep them out of your business. My question is why? You want to keep all the people out of your business. Why? Because you think they have bad intentions? Okay. Well, what do you think is going to happen after you get married? Do you think the bad intentions are going to like vanish? Or is the dating season the time to really like assess how they react and respond to temptation? How do they react to it? Are they playing ball with it? Are they playing with fire? Or do they avoid the very appearance of evil? Like, these are data points for you as you get ready to make a decision about forever. Someone says, if you break up, you only have to explain it to them and not everyone. I mean, I get what you're saying, but I also think all that's baked out of fear. And I also think when you're walking into a relationship thinking, at least I don't have to tell everyone if we break up, I think it's a pessimistic attitude. And if you look at the Bible and how people dated in biblical times, like they dated with certainty. These guys had to look at the woman and said, that's my wife. That was it. And then they brought the woman home with the intention of, she doesn't leave. She's going to stay with me. She's going to stay with me. I'm going to keep her. And what happens with that is you get women who are able to fully embrace their femininity because they're not worried about being discarded. And this has vanished in today's culture. This idea that a woman can really be safe with a man and really like let her hair down and be comfortable. Why? Because she's not going to be discarded, because he has serious intentions, good intentions, and his intentions are to keep her. Like, that has gone away. Everybody hit the like button really quick. Everybody hit subscribe really quick. Does that make sense? So yeah, I wanted to talk about that really quick, and I wanted to reference Genesis chapter 24, verse, it's the verse around, it's toward the end. Isaac brought her into the tent of his mother Sarah, and he married Rebekah. So she became his wife, and he loved her, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. Like, he brought her into the tent of his mother Sarah, and he married Rebekah. So do you see the invite? And this is what we're missing today. A lot of us receive invites. We get a little text message, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. We get invites to come over. We get invites to go out. We get invites, constantly invites, but then no information about where is this going or what are the intentions. Do you guys see what I'm saying? We get a lot of that. We're missing a lot of the intentions there. And I think there's something really sweet when you really take a look at the Bible and you sit and you see how the servants of Abraham went and sat down at the table of Rebekah's family and negotiated for, is she okay to exit? This is what we can offer her. We're offering her stability. This is going to be a good family. We can provide for her. She's coming to a good home. What say you? Like, all of that before she came over to his house. So there's no like, what do you do in text message? And then she shows up and then she doesn't know what's going on. And then there's some fumbling around in the bed, followed by, is he going to call me? Like, there was none of that. Do you guys even realize that fundamentally the peace and femininity of women is dissolving because we're missing safety and security in relationships, because we're getting in relationships where we're often being discarded or thrown away or not taken seriously? Like, there's something missing there. And the part that's missing is the dating with intention, dating for the purpose of marriage, and actually not bringing her in until like, this is a thing. Do you guys see that? It's actually pretty interesting, because like, we've fallen so far away from it, and then we wonder why women have begun to harden. as if that's happened without there being something to give them pain or sore or callous. Like women have become hardened and calloused, less feminine, because they have less security, less safety, because there's less intention, because there's so much privacy. Going back to privacy. So here's what I observed. I was watching a reel today, and it was like the perfect reel to kick off this conversation. It was a young man on Instagram, and I know some people will call it corny, call it what you want. I thought it was lovely and beautiful. There was a young man who was, professing his love for a new girlfriend. They had not been dating very long. Basically, they've been a couple of dates in, and he's like, I am certain about her. I love this girl. I'm certain about her. Like, this is the one. She accepts me. She knows me. She knows my heart. And his intentions are very pure. His intentions are to keep her. And not only is he thinking that, but he's thinking it out loud and on the internet and in public. So what I'm saying is, there's a public profession of love for a reason. Does that make sense to you guys? There's actually a public profession of love, because it makes sense to profess something that you have strong intentions toward. It makes sense to do that. It brings security to the other parties in the partnership. It brings security to the families who are releasing their daughter from their home to your home. Do you guys see that? And people were getting married younger, right? So back then, people were leaving their father's home to go to the home of their husband. They were leaving one home to go to the next home. So the sign off is that, hey, you're going to do for her like we do for her, right? You're going to do the same or better, right? You're going to take proper care of her, right? Like, those were the thoughts going through the mind of people. So I find it all interesting, y'all. I find it all interesting that now we've fallen so far away from it that we look at love in such a casual way, and we can love someone all in our head and never profess it. Like, never say, hey, I really love you, or hey, you mean something to me. We can just love someone all in our head, because we don't have to profess it, because, well, if we profess it, then what? Then what? Am I going to have to take a step? I'm afraid of taking a step. Better not profess it. So we have people who love in their head. We have people who are dating privately. We have people who are perhaps interested in moving forward into marriage, but they can't, because they can't get out of secrecy. And guys, meanwhile, the devil has all of this room to begin to move on these quiet relationships and destroy them. And so what I hear a lot of is people defending the relationships in private, because they say, well, you don't understand. There's going to be all these girls after my man as soon as I post my man. So they're going to be after him because, well, he's cute and he's got money and blah, 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 blah. And so they're all going to be ripping it apart. My question is, are you not concerned about after you're married that they're going to try to rip it apart then? So there's this idea that I'm going to protect it until, I don't know, whatever one fine day comes. And after that fine day, the temptation suddenly goes away, and then you're happily ever after. So we're ending up in the dating phase not assessing people properly because of privacy. We're not assessing people. Then we get married to people who are then suddenly temptations unleashed, and then we get to see how they respond to temptation, versus being able to see it in public, in a public relationship. Y'all, make it make sense. Make it make sense. Not only that, but it's just so demoralizing to be the person who's quietly loved, but you don't feel like you're worthy of being like publicly acknowledged. I think that's weird. I think it's weird and sneaky. And so I don't like it. I'm just saying. But you guys tell me what you guys think. I know there's a lot of like people who are kind of like, well, I'm kind of okay with it, because I don't want to take any shame if it doesn't work out. Like, I want to just leave it that way. But, taking a step is a risk. And what people don't want to tell you is not taking a step. We see this in business all the time. Not taking a step is also a risk. It either can be a risk, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I wanted to talk about that, and I wanted to call out that there's nothing like a good old book of Genesis to remind us that public relationships are relationships that are on the move. They're relationships that are progressing. There's no one hiding intentions, and therefore they are built to flourish. They're built to have roots. Everyone knows exactly where they're planted. They're watering it, and they can grow roots. You get people who can like hold the people in the relationship accountable. You have people that are like eyes on the relationship. So just as many people that you guys think are going to destroy a relationship that if you went public, I can promise you there's just as many people in your family who are going to be rallying behind the relationship that is in public. If it's in public and your families know about it, there are going to be people that are going to be building y'all up and giving y'all good advice and all these good things that can happen when you're public. But when you're private, they can't encourage you, or they can't call you out and say, hey, I've seen you with this behavior before. Maybe you could correct that so that you can have a healthier relationship. There's no one to help bring that relationship to a place of completion, because it's the whole team who's kind of there encouraging that relationship sometimes. But like I said, to each your own. I'm gonna stand by what I say. I feel like the Bible covers it nicely, in that we see that hidden love is not something that was done. We see that love was a planned thing. It wasn't like accidental. People were intentional about when they met someone. As soon as they saw them, they're like, this person. They see their beauty. They know they have a physical interest for them, a romantic interest, and then they're like, I gotta have that person. And their intention is not to have them for a day. Their intention was to have them and keep them. And immense security fell on the woman. It really gave a woman an opportunity to like walk in her feminine and feel safe and be loved and protected. And then look at this. You'll have men that are fully investing. They're fully investing. And I promise you, a man who's investing his time, going public, his money, rallying around, making a public statement, that's a lot for a man. So when they're able to do that, it does hold some weight. His word does hold some weight. And him breaking his word, it is a reflection of him. So when a man's able to go public, it is something that we can honor. We can honor that. So yeah, I see all that, it's just one of those things. Galatians 5, chapter 9 says, a little yeast works through the whole batch of dough. So when there's like just a little bit of rottenness, it can work through the whole batch. That's what the relationships in privacy will do. The secrecy will do. It will destroy the whole batch. So that's what I'm saying. Like, we don't actually have to live like that. We can actually live in a way that honors God. We can live in a way that is hopeful. We can live in a way that is optimistic about the relationship. Even if you're not like, okay, tomorrow we're going to walk down the aisle. Even though you might need to take a few months to get there, right? But we can live in the hopeful state and be public about it and start figuring it out while people rally behind us and say, rah, 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 yeah, let's do this, let's go. That accountability does do something to boost the relationship. But to each their own, that's just my opinion. Anywho, let me know if you guys have any questions. Pop them in the chat. I'll take your questions, and then I will hop off. So for those of you guys that are not on YouTube, we are on YouTube right now, Victory Life Podcast 7603 on YouTube. So come on over, like, share, subscribe. Okay, I'm going to click off of my other platform. Thank you guys for joining. I'm going to stay on YouTube. Let's see. Alrighty. And let's see what you guys have over here. Rounding each other out. Alrighty, guys. So that's it for today. I wanted to talk about that really quick. Join me next time we go live with the Victory Life Podcast. Bye, everybody.